Mike's Must Plays.
Go play it!
Super Metroid, a true adventure game from days long past, which stuck out to me due to most adventure games having a fantasy theme where the Metroid series is science fiction. You're automatically science fiction when there's a brain in a jar. In Metroid for NES, there's big gross monsters called Metroids that are super powerful, enough so that space pirates and their brain in a jar leader attempts to exploit them. Samus, a badass bounty hunter, stops them. Big reveal for Metroid, Samus is a woman. I think. Like the Alien franchise, this was a big deal for the time. But we're not talking about Metroid. Yet. Okay, so Metroid 2 for Game Boy. You go kill Metroids on their home turf. That's it. Oh, except for one, which hatches and thinks you're its mommy. Aww. Just like ducklings. Or alligators? I don't know. What animal bonds to whatever's there when it hatches? Thus begins Super Metroid. One parallel I'm going to draw right off the bat is that Super Metroid reminds me a lot of Metal Gear Solid. Hear me out. Though this game is very much a sequel, many elements and conditions from the previous games are heavily borrowed from, sometimes directly copied from. In both Super Metroid and Metal Gear Solid, much of the equipment you get and the reasons you need them are exactly the same as previous games. Now, I'm not chalking this up as laziness. As great as the NES was, it was not without its limitations. These are games that, to me, are probably what the developers wanted to do, but couldn't. Which game was better is obviously subjective, but it doesn't take an engineer to realize that the Super Nintendo could just do more. Huge leap in graphics. Better, more varied music. A bigger world to explore with atmosphere. A map! Jesus, Metroid needed a map. It's so overwhelming when you first start out. Now, should you try the original Metroid? More on that later. Gameplay is solid. I don't think any game is going to make this list if it weren't. Fighting is definitely one of the primary elements of the game, but a large part of it is exploration. Secrets are everywhere in this game. Some are obvious, many aren't. Much of it is the same kind of crap, though periodically you find those critical super missile upgrades. Are these spark plugs? And you need these, as you'll go through dozens of them during boss fights. Finding this stuff is rewarding. I'd almost say keep a walkthrough handy in case you really get stuck. No, I mean metaphorically. But exploring this world for yourself is a lot of the experience. If all the secrets are too hard to find, fear not, they put in an item that lets you see all these elusive secrets. Where have I seen this game mechanic before? Speaking of items, Aaron Hansen touched on this in his Mega Man X sequelitis regarding the game's intro stage. Your new items usually aren't outright explained to you, but most, if not all of them, require you to somehow use them to leave the room or area. A tutorial built into the level design, so to speak, and it speaks volumes of the care and thought that went into this game. There are a few complaints, but a couple small issues that are worth noting. The controls are pretty good, but can be a little clunky at times. Sometimes it's hard to get Samus to do exactly what you want her to. The space jump technique requires you to pay some mind to the timing of the jumps, and there are times when it doesn't seem to cooperate at all. A little frustrating, but not game-breaking by any means. I know Metroid is a somewhat popular franchise, but I feel like it still takes somewhat of a backseat in Nintendo's lineup. I mean, the last Metroid game to come out was 2007. 2007! There's some goofy co-op game in the works called Federation Force, but it doesn't look like it's going to take the franchise very seriously. Which I guess it doesn't have to, but I don't think anyone is going to sit here and call it a full-fledged Metroid game. I did play Prime many years ago, but the 2D ones are what stick with me the most. If you play nothing else, play Super Metroid. If you like it, and you probably will, I strongly recommend Fusion, a sequel, and Zero Mission, a mostly remake of the original Metroid. Getting your hands on a copy shouldn't prove difficult, as most of the games are available on Nintendo's Virtual Console. If you choose to emulate, purchase a legitimate cartridge and hardware setup, note that I had no problems getting the legitimate SNES console to work properly. Trust me, it's worth it. Go play it.